believe that the church is going to usher in the millennium. They used to call them kingdom now preachers. You know what they believed in? That we were going to elect the right people, and I sure enough wish we would. But they believed we were going to elect the right people, and then we were going to usher in righteousness. That's not going to happen. It's just a pipe dream. I believe we ought to try to do the best we can. But you know, if man ever got his hands on the kingdom, he'd never turn it over to Christ. Is that right? Am I making any sense? Hear me. There is going to be a rapture. I need you to hear this statement. Whenever people lose sight of the coming of the Lord, there comes a carelessness. Did you hear what I said? Whenever people lose sight of the coming of the Lord, there comes a carelessness. You know, we used to so preach the coming of the Lord. I had a man meet me by the door today and tell me that he was been in this church for 50-some years. He said 56 years or something along that line. I can tell you 56 years ago, they so preached the coming of the Lord that old people really believed it. Now, I said they really believed it. People used to come to church on a Sunday morning and they didn't know if they'd get back Sunday night before he came. Are you listening to me? I believe the Apostle Paul got out of bed every morning of his life believing he was going to eat lunch in glory. Hallelujah. Did you hear me? I said, I believe whenever people lose sight of the coming of the Lord, there comes a carelessness. John said, the coming of the Lord is a hope that purifies. I said, a hope that purifies. This belief that at any moment he may come. It is this belief that keeps a human from going where he ought not go and doing what he ought not do. There's going to be a rapture. The first step on the road to apostasy is a departure from biblical authority, such as the rapture. You'd be surprised the people that used to believe in a rapture don't believe in it no more. You know, them prosperity boys on TV, I used to call that the idiot box. Them prosperity boys on the idiot box, they so have people believing it don't get no better than here and now that they've got people to where I don't even believe they're interested in going to heaven. But listen to me, there's going to be a rapture. The rapture is a major doctrine of the New Testament, but we're living in a time where they have forsaken biblical authority. They've forsaken the rapture. They've forsaken in speaking in tongues. As the Spirit gives the utterance, is the initial evidence. Apostate means forsaking biblical authority. When you forsake biblical authority, then you compromise. And when you compromise, you come to a place of neutrality, which means that my opinion is as good as yours. That's where we are today. Hey, I want to serve you notice. I didn't come by here to talk about my opinion. I come by here to say, thus saith the Lord. Amen. I didn't come here no authority or power to change the Word of God. I'm just a newspaper boy throwing it up on your doorstep. What you do with it is your business. But you hear me today, there's going to be a rapture. I said there's going to be a rapture, and the day is set. You know, one preacher said one time, a lot of them said it, give in this offering. They say like this, give in this offering. Help me bring the Lord back. You know, I know they meant well, I guess, when they said that, but I got news for you. He didn't need nobody to help bring him the first time. And he don't need nobody to help bring him the next time. You know, I pastored for 20 years. I'm not too smart, pastor. It took me 20 years to pastor to realize I was an evangelist. But you know, in that 20 years of pastoring, I performed quite a few weddings. You know, unbeknownst to most people, pastors are not just thrilled and elated to do weddings. Some people think the pastor sits in his office twiddling his thumbs just hoping somebody will come through the door and say, would you perform our wedding? I personally, when I was a pastor, would rather bury them than marry them. Why, you ask? Because those I buried never complained, never said nothing. The other ones, it's another story. But I mentioned that because, you know, I never did a wedding, pastor, where we didn't set a date. You don't need a date floating around out there. You set it. Hey, I want to let you know this morning, the date has been set. God is not up in heaven wringing his hands and saying, should I wait till one more gets in? I can tell you the date is set. I said the date is set. He's a-coming. He's coming. He's coming. Did you hear me now? I said the date is set, ladies and gentlemen. It's been 2,000 years. It's come full circle. We're back to Bible with the computer. Do you realize with the advent of the computer, the language barrier has been broke? We're back to Bible. Everything, every sign points to his imminent return. Don't look to America for signs. If you want to look for signs of the times, you must look at that little country over there that Mr. Hussein hates. And that's Israel. I said Israel. That little country, that little nation over there, ladies and gentlemen, that's where it all is about. And I can tell you every sign points to his coming. I said every sign points to his coming. As surely as you and I are in this room this morning, I said he's coming. No man knows the day or the hour, but I can tell you we're on the very threshold of the coming of the Lord. I said we're on the very threshold of the coming of the Lord.